Good afternoon, everyone. More than a year ago, when COVID-19 raged and put a hard stop to the machinations of the world, a few of us in the economy of communion in Asia gathered online to discuss what can we do to grow this idea of the EoC beyond what we have right now. Before that meeting, I often wondered about the purpose and even relevance of the economy of communion in today's world, especially one that's been changed by the pandemic. Millions have lost their jobs, while the 1% continue to make billions. And while everyone needed vaccines, some of the wealthiest nations hoarded or made attempts to hijack shipments to deny countries, many of them poor, the rightful access to vaccines. The list goes on. Seeing the systemic ineffectiveness of capitalism, even the hypocrisy of it, exposed, it strengthened my belief and resolve that the vision of Chiara Lubich 30 years ago is not only relevant. Instead, it is like the vaccine we need for a different form of capitalism, one where everyone feels included and can share in the goods of the economy. In fact, before launching this concept of the EoC, Chiara offered this poetic and beautiful vision of the economy. She said, and I quote, "Every person in the working world, from the owner to the administrator, from the director to the technicians, from office workers to laborers, in order to build solidarity with others, must love everyone in such a way that he or she becomes one with the others. In this spirituality, mutual love leads to reciprocal understanding, to sharing in the fatigue of the others, to making our own the problems of the others, and to seeking solutions together. It leads us to find common agreements for new forms of organizations in the working world. All come to share and participate together in the means of production and in the fruits and profits." Imagine what kind of economy we will be able to create if every organization of the economy seeks to act in this way. This, in my view, is not some idealism or even socialism. It is at the heart of what is needed to make any sensible economic system work, by ensuring fair and equitable participation of every person. This kind of approach to a fraternity at work needs to be the rule of rules, to overcome selfish interests that kills and deprive human dignity. Only in this way, a new form of practical and inclusive love can we replace or renew certain institutions who have become so capable of gaming the system for their own selfish gains, depriving many of their rightful place of participation. At the same time, as a movement, we have to reflect on why we have not grown as much and wide in order to have a greater impact. In his speech to the EoC movement in 2017, Pope Francis gave this gift of critical reflection. And I often measure my actions in the EoC according to his speech. And he said this: "The economy of communion, if it wants to be faithful to its charism, must not only care for the victims, but build a system where there are ever fewer victims, where possibly there may no longer be any. As long as the economy still produces one victim and there is still one single discarded person, communion has not yet been realized, the celebration of universal fraternity is not full. Therefore, we must work towards changing the rules of the game of the social economic system. Imitating the Good Samaritan of the gospel is not enough. From Kara's vision and this helpful critical reflection of Pope Francis, we understood that our faithfulness to the spirit of the EoC is to be able to change the economic system. This is how we have derived our light from shaping our strategy for impact as we seek to grow in the Asia Pacific beyond 2021. Since December, at the founding assembly, with so many of you, we have presented the strategic outline that a few of us have prepared for almost 7 months. I like to explain it according to the theme of this summit to provoke thought and action for every one of us in the coming year. First, how can we be light in our environments to inspire an economy of communion? Over the last 30 years, we have learned that some people think that EoC is hard to achieve or is too idealistic. So our priority is to devote more time and effort towards sharing daily experiences on how each one of us in different roles put it into practice. This is why we have developed different membership groups like professionals, academe, enterprise, to create nurturing cells to encourage each other. Tomorrow's program is entirely devoted to sharing how each one practices the concepts of the EoC in our lives. We intend to be very systematic in this so that more people will understand that EoC does not start with an enterprise. It starts today in our homes, offices, universities, and it starts with our daily actions. Then, related to this, many people are shy and they feel that their experience is not good or great enough. But dear friends, this sense of fear is holding us back from impacting an inclusive economy. So we have to be bold to let our light shine. So we hope that we can get everyone here to try and share one experience with us on how you try to put the concepts of the economy of communion into practice. So if we can aim 1,000 stories of impact in small and big ways, then we can go a long way to show how the EoC is possible and it is happening. We want to invite you here, right now. If you can take out even your phone, share what inspires you to shape an economy of communion in your social media, on your Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and tell the world, why are you in this event? Why are you living the EoC in your life? If you can do this with us, it will be a great personal start. Second, how can we generate life to grow the network of the economy of communion? The next significant challenge is how to bring in a greater diversity of people into the network and the younger generation in order to generate life. Traditionally, the EoC in Asia, since it was an initiative of the Focolare movement, has involved more Catholics. However, it has always been our intent to reach out to groups beyond our usual communities. With this new structure of the EoC Asia Pacific, and when the new statutes are put in place by next year, any member of this network, regardless of belief, country, race, can rise up to the highest levels of leadership in EoC Asia Pacific. So as we shape the EoC Asia Pacific to be more inclusive through the institutions, we will have greater opportunities to impact a better economy. Next, if you notice, we have almost 50% of the speakers for these 2 days under the age of 40 years old. This is intentional. We treasure all the EoC leaders and all the EoC members who have a lot of experiences in life. They are important. They are not to be discarded. What we only want is to bring in the younger people as well, so that they have a chance to lead and they have a chance to share with us their thoughts. And this session, we will invite the young leaders to share their thoughts to conclude today. We will be intentional in bringing in young people into leadership positions in the EoC, and we will put in place succession plans to renew the EoC movement throughout the region so that we are ready for the next decade or more. Third, how can we be the leaven to give rise to structures for an economy of communion? If we wish to have an impact, then we must be realistic about our resources. In my talks throughout Asia to promote EoC, I found that many are interested in shaping an inclusive economy. But in many situations, there are few in each country. Literally, like what Luigino said just now, 1, 2. So, by coming together as a network, we will achieve economics of scale and support one another. We plan to help build capacity of a growing number of national networks of EoC, and EoC in India, EoC in Malaysia, EoC in Indonesia, EoC in Vietnam, so on and so forth, so that we can have a real influence on policymakers and entrepreneurs at the local level. Next, EoC in our region tends to be organized in an ad hoc manner. If you have someone who is very enthusiastic, something happens. If the person is tired, nothing happens. So if we want to have an impact, we need to have a proper secretariat, and we need to set for ourselves a process to grow a competent secretariat. This is another crucial pillar, because if we want to amplify our impact on poverty, increase our influence, we need to have a professional coordinating team to help us. So sharing resources from the whole network matters. And this process of trying to make EoC Asia Pacific a sustainable endeavor, not an ad hoc activity, will matter in the next 1 to 2 years. Finally, if we want the EoC to be adoptable in a pragmatic way, we have to learn from the climate change movement, where they have clearly defined impact, standards, processes. They are also open source. We intend to put together a central resource of practical standards and procedures to impact an economy of communion for individuals, enterprises, non-profit entities, and even policymakers to adopt. So we hope that with the above, by being the light, the life, and the leaven, we can live up to the vision of Chiara and the hope of Pope Francis by changing the social economic system of the Asia Pacific towards one of communion where no one is in need. Thank you.